This is the History of Algeria podcast. Each week on Mondays, we'll be updating new information about the history of Algeria. This is an Eat to My Own Beat podcast.
50,000 Roman soldiers dead in a single day. An army crossing the Alps with war elephants. A 17-year struggle that would determine the fate of Western civilization. Today, we're diving into the Second Punic War, the epic clash between Rome and Carthage that reshaped the ancient world.
And what a clash it was. You know, this wasn't just some border skirmish. We're talking about two of the most powerful civilizations in the Mediterranean going head-to-head in what would become one of the most dramatic conflicts in ancient history.
Let's set the stage here. How did these two powers end up in such an intense rivalry?
Well, it all started with the aftermath of the First Punic War. Carthage had lost Sicily and was forced to pay a massive indemnity to Rome. But instead of accepting defeat, they rebuilt their power by expanding into Spain, which had rich silver mines.
So they were looking for a comeback.
Exactly. And they found their champion in Hannibal Barca, who'd grown up watching his father rebuild Carthage's strength in Spain. When Hannibal seized the city of Saguntum in 219 BC, which was allied with Rome, it was essentially lighting the fuse of war.
And then Hannibal did something that nobody expected, right?
Oh, absolutely. In 218 BC, he made what might be the most audacious military move in ancient history. He marched his entire army, including war elephants, from Spain across the Alps into Italy.
War elephants across the Alps? That sounds challenging.
It was more than challenging, it was nearly catastrophic. The harsh weather and difficult terrain caused him to lose a huge portion of his forces. But here's the thing. He still emerged on the other side with enough strength to start winning battles.
And win battles he did. Tell us about his early successes.
He absolutely dominated. First at the Battle of Trebia in 218 BC, then at Lake Trasimene in 217 BC. But his masterpiece was yet to come, the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC.
Cannae, that's the one where 50,000 Romans died in a single day, right?
Yes, and it was a tactical masterpiece. Hannibal used a double envelopment maneuver to completely surround and annihilate the largest army Rome had ever assembled.
You know what's fascinating? I read that after Cannae, Carthaginian officers sent bushels of gold rings stripped from fallen Roman knights back home as trophies.
That's right. It was a powerful symbol of their victory. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite this catastrophic defeat, Rome refused to surrender.
Which seems kind of crazy, right? I mean, their army was destroyed.
Well, what's really fascinating is how they responded. After Cannae, Hannibal offered to ransom 8,000 Roman prisoners. That's 2 full legions worth of soldiers.
And they must have jumped at that chance, given how many soldiers they'd lost.
Actually, no, and this is one of the most remarkable decisions of the war. The Roman Senate refused to pay the ransom.
Wait, what? Why would they do that?
It was actually a brilliant strategic move. Paying ransom would have acknowledged Hannibal as the victor and undermined morale. Instead, they used that money to arm slave volunteers and showed everyone that Rome would never give in.
That's incredible psychological warfare.
And you know what's really interesting? Before every major battle, the Carthaginians would make sacrifices to their gods, Tanit, Melkart, and Baal Hamon, to ensure victory.
So, this wasn't just a military conflict, it had deep religious significance too.
Exactly. But what many people don't realize is that this war wasn't just fought on land.
Really? Tell us more about that.
The control of harbors and sea routes was absolutely crucial. Ancient warships needed to stay close to the coast and required regular access to friendly ports.
So, whoever controlled the coastline controlled the war?
Precisely. And Rome had a huge advantage here because they controlled most of the important harbors after the First Punic War.
Which made it harder for Hannibal to get reinforcements and supplies.
Exactly. And this brings us to a crucial point. Despite winning battles, Hannibal couldn't win the war because he couldn't take Rome itself.
But he did try, didn't he?
Yes, in 211 BC, he marched on Rome, but the city's defenses were too strong. Meanwhile, Rome was adapting its strategy.
How so?
They adopted what became known as the Fabian strategy, avoiding direct battles with Hannibal while targeting his supplies and allies.
A war of attrition.
Right. And it worked. By 207 BC, when Hannibal's brother Hasdrubal tried to bring reinforcements from Spain, Rome was ready.
What happened?
They intercepted and defeated Hasdrubal's army before it could join forces with Hannibal. This was a crucial turning point.
And meanwhile, Rome was making some pretty dramatic changes to deal with the war, right?
Absolutely. By 214 BC, their treasury was empty. They had to debase their silver coins and dramatically reduce the weight of their bronze currency.
So how did they keep fighting?
The Roman elite stepped up. They contributed their personal wealth to keep the war effort going. It really shows how unified Roman society was in the face of this threat.
That's remarkable dedication.
And it paid off. By 201 BC, Rome had won. The war ended with Carthage losing its territories in Spain and having to pay an enormous indemnity.
So what were the lasting impacts of this war?
It completely transformed the Mediterranean world. Rome emerged as the dominant power, controlling everything from Spain to Sicily.
And Carthage?
Never really recovered. About 50 years later, Rome would completely destroy it in the Third Punic War.
It's amazing to think how different history might have been if Hannibal had succeeded.
Absolutely. We might be speaking a Phoenician language instead of one derived from Latin.
You know what strikes me about this whole story?
What's that?
How it shows that winning battles isn't the same as winning wars. Hannibal was arguably the better general, but Rome had the stronger strategy.
Exactly. It's not just about tactical brilliance, it's about resilience, resources, and the ability to adapt.
And speaking of resources, the way Rome mobilized everything they had, from slave soldiers to aristocrats' gold, is pretty incredible.
It really was. They basically transformed their entire society to meet this challenge.
And that transformation had lasting effects, right?
Absolutely. The Second Punic War marked Rome's emergence as a true Mediterranean superpower. Everything that came after, the empire, the spread of Latin culture, it all started here.
So, in a way, Hannibal's attempt to destroy Rome ended up making it stronger.
That's exactly right. Sometimes the greatest challenges create the greatest opportunities for growth.
Thank you for listening to the History of Algeria podcast. Please check back every Monday at noon Pacific time for a new episode. Also available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Check us out at www.eattomyownbeat.com.